The Mysterious Old Radio Listening Society podcast.
Welcome to the Mysterious Old Radio Listening Society, a podcast dedicated to suspense and horror stories from the golden age of radio. I'm Eric.
I'm Tim.
I'm Joshua. We love scary old-time radio stories. There's nothing quite like a disembodied voice telling a genuinely disturbing tale. But do these stories stand the test of time, or are we being deceived by nostalgia? Are they suspenseful or forgettable? Bone-chilling or butt-numbing? That's what we're here to find out.
Our selection this time comes at the request of a listener. Shannon writes us,
I love your podcast. I don't know anyone else who listens to OTR, so it's awesome to be able to hear you discuss the episodes. Would you consider a request? My favorite is Song of the Slasher, but I'd love to hear your takes on any Inner Sanctum episodes from 1945 or thereabout, where Raymond, the host, has to interact with Mary, the Lipton Tea lady. Keep up the good work, Shannon.
That's a dead-on Shannon impression.
Thank you.
Inner Sanctum was a popular old-time radio program that aired from January 7th, 1941 to October 5th, 1952. It was created by producer Hyman Brown, and all 526 episodes were broadcast.
The early programs open with Raymond Edward Johnson introducing himself as your host, Raymond, who told weird, morbid jokes and lots of puns, which, depending on your point of view, can be scary.
The Lipton Tea lady Shannon referred to in her request is the show's sponsor beginning in 1945, which this episode is from. The Lipton Tea lady, who was Mary Bennett, would appear with Raymond, creating a truly odd couple. It sounds a little like a speed date gone terribly wrong.
Not to be confused, of course, with the fictional Jane Austen character Mary Bennett.
A series of 6 low-budget Universal horror movies starring Lon Chaney Jr. and based on the radio show was produced in the 1940s. Calling Dr. Death, Weird Woman, Dead Man's Eyes, The Frozen Ghost, Strange Confession, and Pillow of Death.
All right, well, you got it, Shannon. Here you go. Inner Sanctum, Song of the Slasher. Forget the petty distractions around you. Forget what you think you know. Forget everything but what you hear right now. It's late at night and a chill has set in. You're alone, and the only light you see is coming from an antique radio. Listen to the sounds coming from the speaker. Listen to the music. And listen to the voices.
Lipton Tea and Lipton Soup presents Inner Sanctum Mysteries. Good evening, friends of the Inner Sanctum. This is your host, Raymond, the gay ghoul. Friends, would you like to fly through the air with the greatest of ease? Do you think you'd enjoy being invisible? Oh, it's easy. All you have to do is become a ghost. And to become a ghost, all you have to do is accentuate the ectoplasm and eliminate the protoplasm. Man. If that doesn't work, we'll introduce you to one of the characters on our show. He'll take care of you.
And that's the truth. What awful people on this show. Wherever do you find them, Mr. Raymond?
Well, it's simple. All you have to do is turn over a rock, and out they come crawling.
And just suppose you were looking for decent people. How would you find them?
Oh, well, now, Mary, you were the one who showed me how I'd just go snooping around houses and peering into windows, and I'd find all the nice people drinking Lipton tea.
Oh, dear. There you go, making fun again. You know, maybe if you drank Lipton tea, you wouldn't be such a bitter, unhappy person. Yes, there's something so warming and cheerful about Lipton. I guess that's why lots of folks drink it not only at mealtimes, but between meals, or whenever they get a chance to sit down and enjoy Lipton's famous brisk flavor. That word brisk, B-R-I-S-K, explains a lot when it comes to tea flavor. Brisk means that Lipton tea always tastes tangy and bracing. It's never flat or wishy-washy. That's right. You just just don't know how good tea can be till you know how good Lipton's is.
All right, Mary. As long as you're in the kitchen, you'd better sharpen up a couple of knives, as our main character tonight is going to use them. The story is called Song of the Slasher. It's an original radio play by Milton Lewis and stars Arnold Moss in the role of Detective Dan Miller. Are you ready? Then gather close and listen. If you find you're getting too many chills, and just sit in the fire. A thick, murky fog hangs like a damp veil over the waterfront. The streets are deserted. The buildings loom like tombstones in a cemetery. No living soul can be seen because people with sense stay behind locked doors. The slasher has murdered and mutilated his fifth victim in 8 days. In a drab, lonely little room, a young woman suddenly looks up when she hears a door close.
Well, what's the matter? Can't you speak? Hey, you, get away from me. Get back up. That knife. What are you doing with that knife? You're that slasher. Help! Help me, someone! It's the slasher! Help!
Hello, police headquarters.
Hello? It's the slasher.
What are you talking about?
He's here. 12 Dock Street. He's upstairs. Miss Donnell's apartment. I can hear her screaming now. He's with her. I go upward. I'm an old man. It's the slasher. He's killing her.
Hello? Is that you, Miller?
Speaking.
This is Captain Quinn, headquarters. Here's the chance you've been waiting for. The slasher's at 12 Dock Street, right around the corner from you.
On my way, Captain. Bye. That's how it started. A detective is asked to do some queer things in the line of duty. I didn't mind moving down to the dump at the waterfront with my wife, if it would help catch the slasher. So when I got the call, I rushed out of my joint and beat it down to 12 Dock Street.
Oh.
Where is he? Where'd he go?
He... Listen, I...
Don't do that. I'll get you a doctor. And listen to me, sister.
Donnell, her name is. Are they going to send an ambulance?
Yeah, but it won't do her no good.
You were too late.
Did you see the guy who did it?
I saw nobody.
He can't be far. He was here a minute ago.
I heard someone go out the back way.
When?
A minute ago. Listen.
It's coming from that alley down there. Fog's so thick you can't see 2 feet ahead of you.
The back way goes into the alley.
Well, then it's him.
The slasher.
I got down to the alley, the radio cars and the men from the precinct were coming. We went through that neighborhood with a sieve. But we couldn't find the guy who whistled that queer tune.
Is that you, Danny?
Yeah.
Oh. What happened?
Well, you shouldn't have got out of bed, baby.
I was worried.
He got away.
Did he kill another?
Yeah, another Dane. It wasn't so foggy I could have seen him. That's how close it was.
Any clues?
No, nothing to speak of. Hey, look, baby, don't you worry about this. You go back and get some sleep.
I'm frightened, Danny. That man is somewhere in this neighborhood and us living here.
I shouldn't have brought you down here. We're going back to our old place tomorrow.
No, I'm not. I don't want you here alone, and I want to stay with you.
Shut up.
Danny.
Listen. You hear that, don't you? That ain't something I'm hearing in my head, is it?
Danny, what are you...
Answer me. I want to make sure I ain't hearing
Well, of
things.
course I hear it. It's someone whistling, but why are you acting like this?
The slasher whistles that tune.
Are you sure?
Yeah, I heard him tonight.
Then the killer... The slasher must be somewhere around here.
I'm going out, baby. Lock the door. The whistling
was somewhere in the building. I listened. Where was it coming from? It was gone. I looked at my watch. 4:30 in the morning. I walked down the stairs listening to the whistle. I walked on my toes, listened at the other flats. I didn't hear a thing. I went down into the cellar. There was someone there, all right.
Oh, who's there?
It was Sykes, the janitor. I came closer.
Oh, it's you, Mr. Miller.
Yeah, Mr. Sykes. Hey, what's the matter? You're shaking like you got a fever.
You frightened me.
Why?
I thought you were the slasher.
Yeah?
He's around here, you know. He might be hiding in these shadows. He might be anywhere. Everybody's afraid of him. Everybody.
Yeah, so I hear. Time did you come down here?
4:30, like I do every morning. Why?
See any stranger in the building?
No, I didn't see anyone.
Who lives in the flat below us?
Mr. Trevelyan. Reginald Trevelyan.
Funny name.
He's a funny fella. Never sleeps at night. Wanders around the building whistling to himself.
Whistling to himself?
Yeah. He writes music or something. He got a piano in his place today. He talks crazy sometimes.
Think he's up there now?
Yeah, he never sleeps.
Here.
$20?
Yeah, it's for you.
Why are you giving this to me?
I want you to tell me when Mr. Trevelyan leaves his apartment. Do you get it?
Yeah, but why?
I ain't paying you $20 to ask questions. Mr. Miller.
Yes? What is it, Mr. Miller?
My wife and I live upstairs. I know it's kind of late, but, can I come in here for a minute?
Of course.
Hope I'm not disturbing you.
No, it's quite all right. You the people who moved in a few days ago?
That's right.
Glad to know you. My name is Reginald Trevelyan.
Dan Miller's mine. You been up all night?
Yes. Why do you ask?
Because maybe you can help me. Someone tried to break into our place at about 4:30 this morning.
Really? Mr. Miller, you think your wife would be very annoyed if I played the piano now?
No, I don't think so. She likes music.
Does she? She seemed like a charming girl. I noticed her when you first moved in. You're very lucky to have such an attractive wife.
You whistle yourself like that very often?
Yes. Especially when I'm working on a new composition. Wait a moment. I think I have it. I've been trying to work out that passage all night. Mr. Miller, please get out of here. I want to be alone.
You're a queer, you are.
I'm not interested in your opinion. Well, what are you waiting for? Get out of here! Get out, I'll blow you out!
Try it.
I've lost it!
What?
That passage! You see what you've done? I had it a minute ago, and now it's gone. It has been lately. I keep forgetting things. I'm sorry if I was rude to you. I didn't mean to be. Mr. Miller.
Good night.
Mr. Miller, is it really true what it says in the papers about the slasher? That he has the whole neighborhood trembling in terror?
Yes.
Lovely. Trembling for their miserable little lives. Worried about their dirty little souls. Shivering in fear in their ugly little rat holes. If I knew who the slasher was, I'd embrace him and give him every penny I had.
Why?
Because I hate them. Because they laugh at me. Because... Good night, Mr. Miller.
I phoned headquarters, told them to check on Trevelyan. Oh, he was a queer one, all right. So queer I didn't tell Laura about him. I didn't want to scare her. Couldn't arrest him. I didn't have anything on him yet. I lay down to rest. Maybe I heard it in my dream. Maybe not. I heard that whistling again. That same tune. I think that's what woke me. I looked around. Laura. She was gone. And the door was open. I rushed out. The hall was filled with thick fog. In the yellow light, I saw a crumpled heap on the floor. I recognized Laura's bathrobe.
Kept the blood from flowing long enough. On with the murders. Listen as we hear Arnold Moss as Dan Miller finish that story.
Laura was alive, in a dead faint. I scooped her up in my arms and rushed her back to our flat. She opened her eyes a few minutes later.
Danny.
You're okay, baby.
He was going to kill me.
Yeah. Drink some of this.
Thanks. Oh, Danny, it was awful.
What happened?
Well, you were asleep. I went out to get the milk, and I heard someone whistling.
Do you remember what?
That same queer melody we heard before, the one the slasher whistles. So I thought I'd help you.
Help me?
I thought I'd see him. I walked quietly down the hall, and there was no one there. Then I turned the corner.
Yeah?
I saw the knife gleam. Someone was hiding in the shadows. He grabbed my neck, and I screamed. I screamed, Danny. I screamed so I thought I'd burst my throat, and then it all went flat.
Did you see him?
No, but I felt his hands on my throat. They were strong hands, fingers like steel, and I... Oh, Danny, I'm sorry. I can't even talk about it.
Now, lie down. You'll be all right.
But when you think that he's right here, maybe living in this building...
Well, he won't be here long. I'm calling headquarters.
Do you know who he is?
I got a good idea. Now, just let me get on that phone and...
Oh, Danny, maybe that's him.
Now, take it easy, kid. Who's there?
Sykes.
That's just a janitor, baby.
Oh.
What do you want?
He went out.
Trevelyan?
Yeah.
Okay. Laura, get dressed. I want to get you out of here before the trouble starts. I'll be gone for a few minutes.
Where are you going?
With Mr. Sykes. Got a key, Sykes?
Yeah, but I'll have to go along with you. You can't take anything.
You know what this badge means?
You a detective?
Yeah. Now, let's go.
What are you doing here? Looking for the slasher?
I'll write you a book about it, pal. And here's his joint. Open the door.
All right. But you'll have to hurry. He may come back any minute.
All I want is enough evidence. I'll take care of him when we get it.
The door's open. Come on in.
It was 8 in the morning. But it could have been 8 at night. The fog was so thick. I knew this was it. I couldn't take any chances. I had to get all the evidence on him before I nabbed him. And I had to get it without him being wise.
What are you looking for?
Knives. We know he's got at least 3.
I don't see none.
Neither do I. Maybe it's a bum steer. I could be wrong. Hey, what's this? Music.
He's always writing it.
I used to be a choir boy once. They taught me how to read them notes. I wonder if I still can.
Why?
Because I think this may be a tune I'm looking for. Let me see.
That song.
Did you ever hear it before?
Yeah.
Bet you did. He's always whistling it. I heard him myself when he killed the last one. You gotta find those knives.
You better hurry. I think he just went out to get some breakfast.
I looked everywhere. Couldn't find the knives. I couldn't bring a guy in just because I heard a song. I found a bunch of keys. They were trunk keys. But there was no trunk.
I think I hear him coming.
Never mind what you think. Where does he keep his trunk?
In the storeroom in the cellar. He's always going down there for things.
Hold it.
That's him.
Yeah. Come here. There's room behind this upright piano for both of us.
What, the piece to
Shut up. Get behind here and hurry. He sat down at the piano and played a queer arrangement of the same tune that led me to him. I reached for my gun just in case. Suddenly, I felt the sweat ooze out of me. It was sweat that felt like ice. I didn't have my gun. I remembered I took it off when I laid down to rest.
It's all wrong. Why can't I get it right?
He's going out again. Come on, Sykes.
I told you to hurry before.
I hear him going down those stairs. It's safe to go now. All right, Sykes. We're going to open that trunk in the store.
Here's his trunk, Mr. Miller.
This key should open it.
The knives?
Yeah. The knives. Look at them. Covered with blood. Sykes, go to the police precinct. Tell them Miller sent you. Tell them to come over here with as many men as they can spare.
All right.
I took the knives and put them under my coat. Went up to my room.
Yes, I'm leaving. I'll be home
I
soon.
could hear Laura talking on the phone with someone. I opened the door.
Well, of course I better hang up now. Danny just came in. Goodbye, darling.
Who were you talking to?
Mother, I'm ready to go.
Oh, wait a minute. There's no rush.
Listen, Danny. It's that man at the piano. Sounds like the Slasher song.
Yeah.
What have you got there?
My gun. Come on, baby, we're going.
That man playing the piano. Are you sure he's the Slasher?
Yeah. Positive.
Danny, you're hurting my arm.
Oh, sorry. I'm nervous. That's his place. Come on in with me.
Come in with you?
Yeah. I figured out a way to trap him.
But Danny,
Don't be scared, baby. You'll be okay.
Oh. It's you.
Yeah, Mr. Trevelyan. I'd like you to meet my wife.
I'm delighted.
How do you do?
Would you like to hear something? It's a composition I've just completed. I've had a great deal of trouble with it. But I think I've got it right now.
That gun.
Yeah, you got it coming to you, Slasher.
You stupid swine. You idiot. Why did you give me a chance? My music. Not even written down.
Danny, you murdered him.
Yeah,
Why?
you'll find out.
What are you going to do with that knife?
It's one of his knives. Stand still, Laura.
Danny, let go of me.
In a minute.
Danny, what's the matter
You've
with
got
you?
it coming to you, too.
Why?
I know who you were talking to on that phone. It wasn't your old lady.
What?
It was Jerry Boyd, that guy who lives next door, wasn't it? Answer me, wasn't it?
No.
Lie to me.
So this is why you made me come down here with you. You planned this all along.
That's right, baby. And that's why I had you insured for $40,000.
Oh.
You made one bad mistake. You married a smart cookie.
You're going to kill me and blame it on the Slasher.
Yeah.
No! Help me, someone help me! Danny! Oh.
over, I wiped the knife clean of fingerprints. And then I smeared Trevelyan's hand over the handle. I knew what to do. Made it look good, made it look perfect. There's a way to get away with murder. And I found it. I thought.
Go on with the report, Noah.
Well, Captain Quinney, after I sent Sykes to the precinct, I went upstairs for my gun. My wife wasn't there, and I got the gun, and I heard a scream. I rushed to his place. I opened the door. I saw Laura. For a second, I thought I'd pass out.
Yeah?
He grabbed a knife and come at me, and I shot him and killed him. Oh, Laura.
She was insured for $40,000, wasn't she?
Yeah. What difference does that make now?
A lot of difference, Miller. I want you to meet someone. Come in, Sykes.
Yes, Captain.
Did you hear Detective Miller's report clearly?
Yes, sir.
Was he telling the truth?
No, he lied.
What are you talking about?
I didn't go to the police when you told me. I hid in the cellar. I saw you go upstairs. I saw you get your wife and go to Trevelyan's place. I listened at the door. I heard you shoot Trevelyan and then murder your wife.
Captain, the man's insane.
Yes, Miller. A homicidal maniac. I'll take away his coat. You see? He's handcuffed.
I don't get it.
He's the slasher.
He? It's impossible. I told you about that melody. Why, it's still on Trevelyan's piano.
Trevelyan copied down that melody after he heard Sykes whistle it.
Yeah, I whistled the whole thing for him.
But the knives I found in Trevelyan's trunk.
I put them there. I knew who you were.
Sykes was trying to frame Trevelyan. He's made a complete confession, Miller.
But how did you find out
When
that
you asked us to check on Trevelyan, we discovered that he's quite a famous, if eccentric, composer. I checked up on the other people in the building at the same time. I found out that Sykes escaped from the State Institute for the Insane 2 years ago. He's confessed.
Yeah, I'm the slasher. Why should Trevelyan become famous for what I'd done?
You had a perfect crime all figured out, Miller. But you made one little mistake. You decided the wrong person was the slasher. Even a copper can't pull a perfect one, Miller.
So I'm telling you all this because in 10 minutes I won't be able to tell nobody anything. Ever since I made my report, I've been hearing that song in my head. Like somebody whistling it. Soon I won't hear that either. It's a nice tune. Kind of sad. The moral for tonight's story is never quarrel with your wife. Avoid strife. If that doesn't work, get a carving knife. Now, there's the perfect formula for domestic bliss. Don't you think so, Mary?
I do not.
Oh, well, then I'll give you another one. You'll love this one. Beat her till she's black and blue. Break her arms and legs in two. Then tell her to brew a cup of Lipton tea for you.
Oh, I give up. All I can hope is that folks don't pay any attention to all these peculiar things you say about Liptons. And I guess they don't. The proof is that more people drink Lipton tea than any other brand. But if any of you folks haven't tried Lipton's, then why don't you do so now before Mr. Raymond says a word more about it? Why not let that famous brisk flavor speak for itself?
Well, now, if you weren't too cut up by tonight's story, let me tell you about next week's gory little tale. It's
Brown, a beautiful woman who holds your hand, tells you about the future. Of course, she's kind of pessimistic. She sees a man with a knife stuck in his throat, the girl waving gaily from the gallows. And listen to this. Our star will be the glamorous motion picture actress Wendy Berry. Let's make it a date, huh? Oh, by the way, this month's Inner Sanctum mystery novel is The Lucky Stiff by Craig Rice. And now I guess it's really time to close that squeaking door until next week at the same time when Lipton Tea and Lipton Soup bring you another Inner Sanctum mystery directed by Hyman Brown. So until then, good night. Pleasant dream time.
That was Song of the Slasher on Inner Sanctum, and you are listening to the Mysterious Old Radio Listening Society. Once again, I'm Eric.
I'm Tim.
I'm Joshua.
All right. Well, that was a request from a listener, Shannon, who wanted to hear that, one of her favorite episodes, but also wanted to hear interaction, she requested, between the Lipton Tea Lady and your host, Raymond. Raymond, your host. I think it's important that we start with Raymond and the Lipton Tea Lady before we even get into the story. Mainly because, and I alluded to Tim earlier before we started recording, I'm not sure I remember any of the episode because I was so hung up on this conversation between these two. As we said in the beginning, it is like a speed date gone terribly where these two like sat down. It's like, okay, you're all right. I got to go.
But not the speed part of it. Like they sit down and they can't get up.
Right. She can't just leave the table.
Yeah, I don't remember the very first Inner Sanctum story that I heard, but it was one from this season that had Mary, the Lipton Tea Lady, and Raymond, and that's what made me go, I got to listen to more Inner Sanctum, because that is just like, that struck me as comedy gold. And I mean, it is
comedy gold by accident.
No, I think this is really intentional.
Yeah.
Well, I think the jokes are not comedy gold necessarily, but that interaction is designed as a kind of weird proto-anti-marketing. I mean, she literally says, I sure hope listeners aren't listening to what you're saying about Lipton tea. Oh, and apparently they're not, because Lipton tea is the most consumed tea in the world. So, like, they're literally saying in there that, you know,
this is bad for our business.
This is bad advertising, but we're still doing it really seems complicated compared to the kind of straightforward advertising of other shows from the same era.
I think the hard part for me was their conversations were really disturbing to me. I mean, he's talking about he was going to beat her till she's black and blue.
He has the hilarious poem about beating and killing a woman and then asking her to make
Lipton tea. And now go make me some Lipton tea. And that was like, oh, what? That's hard to listen to. But then she says, I give up. No, you not give up. Listen, you need to get out of the room.
This relationship.
There's something very hard to listen to that was funny back then, that was tongue-in-cheek, that you could say stuff like that. It just, I know it's a different time and a different era, but oh man, it's like watching a Charlie Chan movie.
Well, I would argue, though, that joke jumps out listening to one episode of Inner Sanctum, because often he would be doing takes on the actual episode. So I think as a joke, it's specifically a play on this episode, which is, of course, stabbing and killing women too. It's one of those weird things, though, because I think it's strange that we have that fine line where we're fine to listen to entertainment if it's like crime and drama with all this violence, but if it is a joke riffing on it, in some ways I think it'd be interpreted as being, you know, ironic that we're all listening to this for entertainment. Now I'm even going to do a poem about it, and then we're going to drink some Lipton tea. There's enough irony in here that I don't want to be that guy that just looks back in time and thinks that I invented irony after 1971 when I was born, and nobody could absolutely be capable of that before then. And so I guess we can't go back and know people's head. But this is so different from what is going on in other shows at the time.
Right.
I want to give them at least a little more leeway to think that they aren't just sitting there, you know, smoking cigars and thinking they're going to stab women on their way home for kicks.
Right.
You
It
know?
is disturbing to, I mean, even now it's disturbing to listen to.
There's nothing okay about their exchanges.
Well, how much are you retroactively going back from that poem at the end? I think their exchanges at the beginning are funny. I admire this weird advertising. And I know online I've looked up, there are a lot of hardcore Inner Sanctum fans who just think this is sacrilege. This sort of wacky comedy this season where you have Mary on there, the Lipton Tea lady, and I just think it accentuates
the weirdness
of Raymond
Inner Sanctum
and the intentional humor.
Let's move on to the story itself.
It's another gonzo Inner Sanctum story where it's just they heap twist after twist after twist, and like, oh hey, let's end with one more twist.
Right?
That performance of the musician, I love it. I love it to bits. Just the incredible, over the top, crazy guy.
I love crazy, unsympathetic artists, and because they're portrayed so rarely.
Appreciate it.
Yeah. And I realized, oh wait, because they're portrayed very rarely in art, because most art is made by artists who think they're the heroes. and so you don't see that archetype very, very much.
Did you ever see Reefer Madness, the movie? Do you remember the scene where the guy is smoking the weed and then he plays the piano because he's insane now?
Yeah. Yes.
That's how I picture this guy looking. I can't do it on the podcast, but that look of complete crazy because he's smoking the weed.
He was so crazy that I think it's pretty obviously a red herring. Because he basically did everything but just sit down at the piano and go, I'm the slasher, sing a little ditty, right?
Right.
But then they make up for it by throwing so many twists at the end. I was legitimately shocked when Detective Miller just filled the piano player full of lead. He went for Francois Truffaut on him and shot the piano player. and I was like, what? And so even though I saw the musician as a red herring, it didn't lead me to where they eventually ended up. As over the top as it all was. And as over the top as the Detective Miller is very much in that Mickey Spillane Hard-Boiled, where he's interrogating the dying woman who's been stabbed to death. They're going, come on, sister, we'll get you some medical help. Just talk. She's dead.
So, Tim, thoughts on the entire program, the show itself?
Really liked it. I know in our last episode we talked a little bit about the music of Lion Engine versus the Ants, and this one I thought the music was great.
Yeah, me too. I found it pretty scary. The whistling was weird. No? We like it?
I think with that kind of whistling is creepy. Just this sort of sound that indicates that there's... It's not the whistling in and of itself, but what it indicates that nearby is this killer.
Absolutely. The whistling was too good. Do you know what I mean? This didn't sound like a guy casually whistling.
That's a professional whistler right there.
It really did sound like a guy, like he has an album on K-Tel.
Yeah.
All the hits.
He tours.
He tours.
If the killer was going around going, it wouldn't be very intimidating, would it?
I mean, more like just like he's whistling while he worked, but this seemed like he was... I don't know. It was weird.
I never stopped to criticize the whistling in this episode.
Too good.
I'm so sorry, but...
I'm sorry, Shannon. Don't stop listening to the podcast.
I don't know what it was. It sounded like a guy stopped, like he was on the street corner going, hey, here's another one. I'm a really good whistler.
It was the critical part of
Absolutely.
Mr. Sykes, the janitor's plot. So he needed to make sure this whistling came off. Right. He probably practiced.
Right.
A lot.
A lot.
He got whistling lessons somewhere.
Whistling lessons. Okay.
It was the 40s. I assume people got whistling lessons in the 40s, right?
Sure. I want to take whistling lessons. Oh, man. What other thoughts do we have about this? I found it very suspenseful.
Yeah, I found it compelling. I mean, again, I love the over-the-top style. Like, everything is just so heightened. And I wasn't sure if the detective character was supposed to just be a hard-boiled detective or if his cruelty was sort of to foreshadow that he was going to end up murdering his wife. And that one, I'm still not sure if that's just a style they chose or if we were suspicious.
It probably says something bad about me that I just sort of took it for granted. Oh, yeah, our main character is a jerk.
Yeah. But that's common in this sort of, again, that would be the hard-boiled style.
Yeah.
What I didn't understand, and whether it was a writing shortcut or, again, to foreshadow, is why he needed to move his wife into the terrible neighborhood in order to investigate it. Did we think that was part of his plan?
Yeah,
it doesn't.
I suppose it's because he either wanted to keep an eye on her retroactively with that knowledge, Or he just couldn't afford 2 places. I don't know.
Well, there's that.
Just a question.
You know what's interesting about it, though, is, again, going back to Raymond, and we've talked about Raymond before, and if you're an Inner Sanctum fan, good for you. I can't stand it. I can't stand it. And we've had this talk. You love him, ironically, don't you?
Yes. Oh, and Ivan, ironically.
I love his irony.
I love his irony, because I think he is intending it. I mean, I don't think anyone thinks like you've got to accentuate the ectoplasm and eliminate the protoplasm. Is like some guy was writing that going, gold!
No, I know. But
I'll be writing for Bing Crosby next week.
Yeah, it sounds like a feud between the writer and the performer.
Right, like he's making fun of the writers.
They're just barely jokes.
Right.
Like, what else does he say? Something like, oh, if you're suffering from chills, sit in the fire. It's just like, it is like a 5-year-old who wrote those jokes. And,
right.
You know, comparing it to other sophisticated jokes being written on the radio at this time, there's definitely intended irony.
What did Mary say? I've forgotten it now already. That was, I can talk like you too. Where she said something about water, and I can't even remember what it was, but it was nothing like Raymond.
Yeah, I think she was saying something about other teas being bitter and nasty, or something like that. But Lipton is never wishy-washy. That's the other thing. That was the weirdest description of a fluid.
So I had that reaction, like, you sound nothing like Raymond. Don't pretend you're Raymond.
Yeah, you're defensive of Raymond.
Yes.
The reason I brought that up again, though, is because it's like 2 different shows are going on. Mm-hmm. And when you get into the Song of the Slasher and you're in it and it's great and I'm enjoying it, and then we come out to that, I'm like, get out of the room, you guys. Like, you're ruining this. You're ruining my Song of the Slasher. It's really good. And you two, I don't know what you're doing, but it's...
Yeah, and I think we mentioned it before. That huge contrast is what makes Inner Sanctum for me. There is so much horror in this vein at this time on the radio.
Right.
On these types of stories. This is something that really makes it different. And it can get so dark in here. I mean, there's so much stabbing and shooting and betrayal. And then to have this sort of lighthearted absurdity coming and going out of these stories is there's just nothing else like it.
Well, and the structure does mean you won't have a story where you are really invested and sympathetic with the characters and be worried for their fates. It's going to be stories, like you were saying, of terrible people, terrible things happening to them, and you feel okay about it because you have Raymond here who's joking about it, telling you that it's okay to feel apart from the action and to make fun of it, or that you're safe.
I hear that. Could just say that, though, without the puns. Couldn't you? Hey, it's just a story.
Puns.
No, they're not even
puns. In all
puns.
fairness to puns.
You know, but right. You feel a chill, sit in the fire. No, not a pun. Not anything. It's just telling someone to sit in fire.
Which is kind of funny.
I mean, I'm sure if this were transcribed in a book like Shakespeare with all the references on the other side of the page, it's probably some commercial at the time, some popular phrase that...
Sit in the fire.
Yes, very witty at the time.
Right.
Lost to the ages.
Right. All right, well, let's vote. Jim.
Timeless classic. Oh, my goodness. I definitely enjoy it, and I would say it holds up. I apologize, Shannon. I don't know I would call it a timeless classic, but I enjoyed it and didn't even have to put on my imagine it was the time to enjoy it. It's still enjoyable as a modern audience listener.
Yeah, I mean, I would say Raymond and Mary's interactions for this season of shows that they did is a radio classic. I love that this happened. It's obviously story-wise pretty dated, yet at the same time, the whole Inner Sanctum approach always seems surprisingly postmodern and something almost more modern than the time to me when I listen to it. So I would say dated, but solidly entertaining.
I will say that I love the story. If I was listening to just the Lipton Tea Lady and Raymond, I could listen to that. I don't like going back and forth because makes my brain switch gears. Like,
so if I made you a super edit of just Raymond and
I'd
Mary,
listen to that.
The entire season's worth, it would probably add up to 2 hours of just them
my
bantering.
birthday is May 15th.
Right.
I will say that the story itself, I liked it, and I enjoyed it a lot. I thought it was well written, and it was creepy and suspenseful, and I loved it. Timeless classic? I think we're reserving those for some really great episodes. Seems like that's the way we're leaning with that phrase, timeless classic. But I think it does stand the test of time, and I think people would enjoy it at any era. All right. Well, thank you so much for listening. And Shannon, thank you so much for your suggestion. If you want to learn more or even have some suggestions of your own, you can go to
GhoulishDelights.com.
And what will they find there, Tim?
You will find information about live performances. We occasionally go out in the world and perform live versions of these classic radio shows that we talk about here. You can also listen to old episodes. You can get a hold of us, which is exactly what Shannon did. If you have suggestions for episodes, please let us know. We would love to include them in our lineup. We'll just forewarn you that there are some very classic titles that we are saving for special anniversary episodes.
And to see us perform recreations of these old-time radio shows, we'll be at the James Hill Center for the next few months through May of 2017, once a month. You can get that information on the website. In fact, in February, we're going to be performing
The Diamond as Big as the Ritz by F. Scott Fitzgerald, adapted for Escape, as well as The Shadow People from Hall of Fantasy.
Nice. And like Shannon and others, while you're there enjoying this podcast, you could write
a review, please. We love nice reviews, and it certainly helps us on iTunes. It helps get more eyeballs on this podcast and then get more ears listening to it. All parts of your face. So please write a review. We really appreciate all the listeners who already have written reviews.
Our next show will be Tim's.
Yes, we'll be listening to an episode of Macabre called The Man in the Mirror. Till next time.
Look out!